Welcome to Stocks to Watch, where we interview industry leaders about what's current in the market and try to tease out a bit of useful information in the process. My name's Jonathan Franklin, and I'm an experienced exploration geologist and your host. Today we're speaking with Ali Haji, the Chief Executive Officer of American Tungsten Corp, a Canadian company focused on revitalising domestic tungsten production through its flagship IMA Mine project in Idaho. Firstly, Ali, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, John.
So you recently visited the IMA mine site, actually. What were your impressions following the visit, and kind of what takeaways did you get from that?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
I think I was just very pleasantly surprised by the proximity to infrastructure. You know, we're within a mile or two of paved roads, about 20 miles from a rail, and we've got high voltage power right on site. The adits being above the water table, unlike very many past producing underground mines in North America. In Idaho, which is an arid environment to begin with, are bone dry. And so the adits are in fantastic shape. The infrastructure looks extremely sound. And that really just helps reinforce our proposition of being the fastest producer to bring tungsten online in North America.
Absolutely, existing infrastructure always is a good card to have in your hand. So, like you're saying, it does have a bit of a rich history there as far as being a past producing tungsten operation with that existing infrastructure, which reduces that development risk starting off, as you say. So, this, I guess, positions you as a potential tungsten producer in the future. What does this mean as far as the government's concerned, and do they assist in kind of the funding model or providing support?
It's a great question. You know, if you look at the IMA Mine, just a bit of background for those that are just catching up on the story. It's a past producer, put out 700,000 tons of tungsten. It was the fourth largest tungsten producer in North America. It is producing a metal, or had produced a metal that, of course, is very critical in nature with today's administration and has been critical since 1979, in fact. So the government has been engaged. We submitted a white paper to the DOD last Christmas, I believe it was, in and around that time. We are speaking with various other agencies. We are set to engage with the DOE, DARPA-E, and DLA over the course of this month. We've also submitted a letter of interest application to Exim Bank to help unearth some debt at low interest levels for the development of the project. I think what's key for folks to understand is, you know, if you look at the vast majority of potential tungsten producers in North America today, capex number will range anywhere from 200 million all the way up to 450 million. We don't have a number that large. Our capex is capped at about 20 to 25 million US for 500 ton per day production. If we were to scale up to 1,000 ton per day production, and that would then go to about 40 million. CapEx. So a very small CapEx number, given the fact that we would be producing at 500 tons per day, 8% of US demand, at 1,000 tons per day, about 16% of US demand. So a very small CapEx that can be funded by various government agencies. And the expectation is that as we start to do some development, some de-risking work over the course of the summer with exploration and validation drilling, and put out an updated resource statement in the fall, at that point, that'll kickstart I should say, accelerate the release of government funding to us to bring this mine back to production.
Fantastic. I mean, time is a very understated part of the equation as far as being able to bring these things online quickly, especially when they are in demand, like you say. So in light of that government interest, yeah, I guess for anyone who's not familiar with tungsten, I mean, it's a bit of a niche metal, I guess, in a regard. What's the future demand looking like in the US and globally?
It's certainly growing. I think where we are in the world today is, you know, we're in a state of various conflicts around the world, unfortunately. And that, as a result, will drive up the price of tungsten as well as its demand. You know, if you look at NATO today, they've been tasked with spending 5% of their GDP on defense applications. The use of tungsten historically has been in those incandescent light bulbs that were finicky and would burn out, and you'd have to replace them. So that filament was actually made of tungsten. Today's use of tungsten is in missile casings, in armor-piercing bullets, armor used in various military vehicles, as well as in aerospace and aviation. So it is used across various different sectors. It's also the hardest element on the periodic table with the highest melting point. outside a diamond. And so its uses in nuclear power plants is something that is absolutely necessary. You cannot build a nuclear power plant without it. As we move to this cleaner or energy transition, if you will require it for nuclear, but more importantly, with the defense spending that we're seeing around the world and China's restrictions on its export, which have been in place well before these trade wars that we're currently seeing today, the price has gone from $350 in February to now $450. I don't see that sort of being I don't see it slowing down, so to speak. I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you that its demand and its restrictions on export are really causing that incremented price. If you start to grow any military, you want to ensure military dominance, which I would think is the case for NATO and its Seven Eye Nation or Five Eyes nations. It will not subside in terms of demand.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those, like you say, unfortunate truths that come with the unrest in the world. However, it's funny you said it's one of the hardest metals because tungsten it was found in Sweden and it translates to tungsten, which means heavy rock.
There you go.
Originally, yeah, it's quite an interesting. The change in application has happened so drastically, but. So you've recently identified multiple exploration targets and updated your technical report. How were these targets selected and what are the kind of key updates that were made in this most recent report?
So the technical report really highlighted the prior 43101 compliant resource of 350,000 tons at 0.63 from the Bradley Mining Group. Inspiration had a highly probable 1.1 million ton at 0.63. So the exploration program that we're undertaking this summer alongside this capital raise that we announced to the market will allow us to do two things. One, validate the historical drilling. 57,000 feet were drilled on the project. A lot of it, typewritten from back in 1880. And so as a result, we've had to digitize that data, but we've also had to go out there and validate the data through that drilling. Gentor, who was the operator from 2008 to 2010, they spent a fair bit of time drilling. They drilled over 12,000 feet on the project. They rock chipped the entire D-level adit, which we were able to walk through right to the very end during our site visit a few weeks ago. It's in great shape, but beyond being in great shape, they've also marked on the adit walls exactly where those rock chips were collected. So we have a very strong indication of where the high-grade rock chips were obtained. That's where we will focus our exploration program. Gentor was also looking to commence production. So they started some stopes, but were unable to come to production as a result of the financial crisis and them going bankrupt. So it really is like being in a candy store down there. There's mineralization everywhere. The intent, once we've digitized everything and have our 3D geological model in place, we will be drilling a fan drilling program, 6,000 feet this summer, from the D-level adit. So it's an exciting summer for us to really de-risk and prove out the resource that we expect to see.
So you can get the drill rig straight down there. There's no dewatering required. How about the ventilation and situations like that? Is that infrastructure in place?
So the zero-level adit was one that we walked past, but we didn't go in purely for safety reasons, given you have to be a little adventurous to do so, and we didn't want any injuries on site. But we had some mining engineers out there last week, and they were able to get into the zero-level adit. The manway connecting the D-level and the zero-level is intact. The ventilation in there, no issues based on the oxygen sensor that we had walking through there. There is significant airflow coming in given the various adits and their manways connecting them. As far as the additional infrastructure that would be required, such as air conveyors and rail, that we're now receiving proposals from various contractors to put that in place, and we have that costed out.
Great. At least you can get drilling straight away. That's fantastic news. And you said you did some drilling that was shoring up the resource, I guess. Did you twin any of the holes, or was it all new drill holes?
So we have not drilled. We're intending to drill this summer.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, it's the resampling program. Okay, so now that those targets have been identified, kind of like what's the next step in the exploration plan? Like, so you're going to drill those fans and then update the geological model. What's the next step after that?
The next step after that will be looking towards a path to production. So we have conversations ongoing with two mills, one in Montana, one in Idaho. We expect to do a bulk sample of 100 tons this summer that will ultimately send to them to test their flow sheets and determine the metallurgy. Once that's in place, then we'd start working towards permitting. And just for our listeners that are new to this story, IMA sits on private patented land, which means we do not require federal permits. We own the surface rights and the mineral rights below that. And that just speeds up our process. We're not putting a mill on site. It'll be DSO to 500 tons per day to start, ultimately growing to 1,000 tons per day when we grow the resource. The southern part of the valley that has not been explored or not explored as much as the northern part of the valley, we were able to walk through that or climb up it, I should say, and saw veins exposed at surface that are about 30 feet wide. So we expect this resource to grow quite significantly. The goal would be to bring production online to that 500 ton per day profile, generating cash flow for the company, and then explore it further to grow that resource, thereby increasing the life of mine.
Fantastic. Sounds like you've got that plan very much sought out, which is great to hear. So for potential investors and existing investors, could you give us kind of in 3 short statements what makes American Tungsten a compelling investment opportunity?
I think for one, you'd have to look at the team that we've assembled with Dan Nicholas and Jim Whitaker. Jim Whitaker, Chief Operating Officer of Capstone Copper, $6.5 billion copper producer, an individual that has joined our board. He's only allowed 1 board seat. Dan Nicholas, an individual that ran the Department of Energy's Loan Program Office and has his, let's call it tentacles in Washington to allow us to unearth and unlock non-dilutive funding. And beyond that, I think we're trading today at a vast discount relative to our peers. What the market is not considering is, one, our speed to production. We will be the fastest producer of tungsten in North America. And 2, our grade. So given the private patented land, the fact that we can bring this asset to production quite quickly and start to generate cash flow, the market should really be paying attention to our valuation gap as well as our ability to execute.
Absolutely. And are there any other metals that are incorporated with the tungsten, or is it occurring as a standalone?
Great question. So we do have silver at about 2 ounces per ton. We also have moly, the 5.7 million tons, 43101 compliant at 0.15. That amounts to about $100 worth of credit per ton for in situ ore. So we've got a significant upside there for those credits that are not factored into our valuation today.
Great. They're both great metals to have in the back pocket. Okay, well, Ali, thanks for your time today and coming on Stocks to Watch, and we're looking forward to following the story further.
Appreciate it, John.